Hi, my name is Henning Mo, and today we have Alissa Mitchell, a scientist from NASA with her master's in electrical engineering from Johns Hopkins. So, Alissa, could you give us just a background on your education, like where you've studied and what degrees you have earned at each institution?
Sure. So I received an undergraduate degree from the University of Missouri in Columbia in mechanical engineering. It was while pursuing this degree that I started working at NASA. I started working in the internship program. So as soon as I graduated, I started working full time in my current position. It was while I was working in this position that I went back to school to get my master's. That was in electrical engineering from Johns Hopkins. Currently, I'm taking courses in both aerospace engineering and physics through the University of Maryland in College Park. I haven't yet matriculated into the PhD program yet.
hmm So, what made you decide to pursue this particular field of engineering?
Um, well, one of my favorite teachers from high school was actually a chemical engineer by trade. And I didn't really like chemistry, but he took us to several career workshops in the different areas of engineering. And so I think that's probably when the seed was planted to study engineering. And I found the field to be very rewarding during my undergraduate years, particularly the problem-solving aspects of engineering.
So, what would you say would be the most interesting course that you've taken during your undergraduate study?
Well, I really like the area of dynamics and controls, and that's one of the reasons why I went into electrical engineering. A lot of times whenever we work with electromechanical systems, which is the field that I work in, you will model the system dynamically, and then you'll need to control it electrically. So it's really kind of a bridge between the two areas, which I like.
So, engineering is traditionally a field that's dominated by men. So, how would you say this affected your studies, like the number of women versus men in your classes, or study groups, or anything like that?
There were typically not very many women in my study groups, and I've been thinking about this in the past. I've actually never had a female engineering teacher
Oh.
throughout my entire graduate and undergraduate studies. I've had one physics professor who was an introductory physics course, and she was really great. So I think really the issue with this is that there's very few female role models for young women in the STEM fields, the STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And because that there's so few role models, you may not have the encouragement. The young women may not have the encouragement not only to obtain degrees in these areas, but to stay in the fields after they graduate. So I think that's
So, what kind of obstacles have you encountered because of this fact that it's a male-dominated field?
it has to do with the way men and women think.
hmm
Women are more comfortable in sort of flat hierarchies where there's not really power positions, whereas men work more comfortably in these power positions. And so I think that plays a role in how you work with your colleagues, obviously. I think I've heard of the theory that women have to actually, they start to address their male colleagues as more of in sort of a masculine way. They sort of take on those
hmm
characteristics in order to fit in. Um, I mean, I think certainly it's. I'm not sure if I necessarily remember specifically trying to be less, maybe feminine or more less sensitive, but I'm sure that that has probably affected me throughout my.
So, let's start talking about. So, you mentioned that you started at NASA while you were still at University of Missouri
Mhm.
through the internship program. So, what kind of work were you doing with the internship?
With the internship, I actually did dynamic modeling. I created several dynamic models of a shutter assembly. It was for the James Webb Space Telescope. They have something called a micro shutter assembly. So they have a bunch of small micro shutters that are nanometers across, and they're magnetically opened and closed. And so it was a shutter for this assembly.
So, what type of work are you currently doing at NASA?
So I currently work in electromechanical systems. So that's a lot of mechanisms, things that are driven by motors. For example, you have a shutter assembly on your camera.
hmm
I have something analogous to this on a spacecraft. So it would be studying the design and the analysis and the testing of instruments like these.
So that's all the questions I have. So, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I think, nope. This is very interesting. That was nice meeting you, Hengen.
Nice to meet you too, and thank you for doing this interview.
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.